Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. I have a Transformers The Last Night review for you today. This is Infernicus. Basically this is like a 5-robot combiner robot here that is primarily made up of repaints from the Transformers Prime toy line. The 4 limbs, I should say, were part of the 3rd season of Transformers Prime when they did the Predacons, and they had a 5 Legion class robots that merged together to form Abominus. So they've basically reused these 4 and then made a new core robot and formed Infernicus here. But this guy was in the movie, so he does have that going for him. And he looked really cool in the movie, I have to say that. I was really happy to finally get a combiner robot in the movie that didn't look absolutely ridiculous, because Devastator in Revenge of the Fallen was such a letdown. It does come with a little translucent Quintessa figure, which is pretty cool. And as you can see here on the front, it is only a Toys R Us, so it is a Toys R Us exclusive. Coming around to the back, you can see Infernicus in his full robot mode glory there. And then if we pan in here on the back, you can see the 5 individual robots. Rupture, Skulk, Infernocus Thrash, which I feel like there had to be a better name for that, Gorge, and Glug. So I think for Prime Beast Hunters, this was Blight, Ripper Snapper, Twin Strike, and maybe Cutthroat. They're supposed to be like homages to the original Terrorcons from G1, which would be Cutthroat, Sinner Twin, Ripper Snapper, and Blot, I think was the original G1 name. Although I have to say, I like Blight better than Blot, because I never really understood what Blot was supposed to mean. But it's nice to get all 5 of these in a uniform color scheme. I think it looks really good when they're all this kind of dark gray and orange color, and it's unified, and it looks really neat. Plus you get the little Quintessa figure, which is kind of cool. So that's pretty much it for the packaging. Not too much going on the sides. You have this picture, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure if this would... Unfortunately, I don't have the boxes anymore for Skullatron and the Megatron repaint. I wonder if you put them all next to each other if it makes a solid picture. It very well might. But, unfortunately, like I said, I don't have those boxes. In any case, I think this guy looks pretty cool, so let's go ahead, bust him out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. So first up, we'll be taking a look at Gorge, a humanoid kind of monster. He has these big long arms. I really like the orange crest here on the top, and then you have a little bit of orange there in the chest, or what will become the chest of the robot mode. Kind of the belly of the monster mode. There's very tiny little paint for the eyes, but it is there. And I kind of like the jaw for the monster's face. I like that a lot. And then he's got these little claws here, which can open and close. That's mostly for the transformation, but a little bit of articulation there. You have a ball joint up here, and then you have a ball joint here in the kind of leg, hippish area. But yeah, there's not a lot to this guy as far as the monster mode goes. But he's pretty cool. Transformation is fairly simple. You're going to rotate the whole monster head back, and then that's going to rotate around and just sit in there. And then what you're going to do is stand them up like this. You can see these are going to be fists that rotate out. You can pull this chest piece forward, and then the sides will rotate down, and then what were the arms will become the hips. And then you're going to want to rotate these and then push the feet up, because what were the claws will now be the feet. Kind of reminds me of Beast Machine's Optimus Primal, that first little deluxe figure they put out. He kind of did the same thing. Then you rotate the head out of there, and then you push this up, and it kind of snaps into place. And then rotate the arms down. And there you go. Unfortunately, the head on mine is really loose. But once you get it into place, it'll kind of stay. And there you go. You have his little robot mode. I like it a lot. Pretty much the same 2 articulation points. It's just now these are the shoulder joint, and this is the hip joint. For some reason, let me make sure I didn't do this wrong, because the hips are not staying together. It's all good. Straighten out the wrists. So he's a tiny little dude. I like him a lot. Very simplistic transformation, but then again, these are all like Legion class figures for the most part, so. With the exception of the super loose head, he's pretty excellent. I'll try to get close in here so you can see the head sculpt. Very simplistic, kind of Grimlock-esque. Has the visor and then a face mask. I love the lines on the chest. For some reason, it really reminds me of like Clue or Rinsler from Tron. I guess it's the color scheme, but I like it a lot. Like the head sculpt, just a bummer that mine's a little loose. Hopefully, if you pick this up, yours will not be. But these figures kind of have the same problems they had back in Transformers Prime, so they didn't really do anything to improve the molds other than change the colors. But he looks pretty good. So next up we have Infernicus Thrash, which, I'm sorry, is the worst name out of the bunch. I feel like there's a million different things they could have called this guy. They could have just called him like Twin Strike or Sinner Twin or whatever he was called originally. I don't know why they had to call him Thrash. But I like the color scheme. In this mode, it's really just mostly black. They didn't add a lot of color. I guess I don't know where they would have added it, but he does have his eyes painted. Both eyes painted on both heads, so I appreciate that. But yeah, overall, not a lot of color on this guy as far as this mode. Robot mode transformation, fairly simplistic. You're going to kind of rotate the tail up in the air, and then you can kind of bring the legs down. Now, these panels on the side, I had the same problems with the original mold. You're supposed to pull them out and then rotate them around, and then now they become shin guards down here, which is great, but they're really loose on mine, and they don't stay very well. And if you kind of tilt it at all, you can see how it just falls right out, and that's kind of a shame. I remember having the same problem with the other molds, so like I said, they did not really correct the problems with these molds. Not that they have a ton of problems, but they have some. Now you can see the front legs are on this hinge system here, so you're going to rotate this around probably to about here, and then you can just put these straight back, and they kind of like become part of the backpack. And then you're going to bring the head, two heads down, and then bring them down, and they're going to become the arms. So and then you can, at this point, you can bring the tail up, and that will clip on the back like that. So these legs, you just kind of want to get on the back. You can position them however you like, but you just want to get them out of the way mostly. And then you're going to bring the chest out, flip the robot head out, and then close back up. So you can see he's got a little bit more color here in the chest, which I like. And then if we try to get up close to check out the face sculpt, pretty cool. For whatever reason, this eye, or I should say his right eye, seems to be painted not as good as the left, but it is there. So I like the look of the robot mode. Like I said, just really the same problems from the mold the first time around with these shin pieces. But I mean, once you can get them in, as long as you don't like tilt them one way or the other, they'll stay. They're just not perfect. But I do like this robot mode. I think it's pretty neat. Here we have Glug. Another rather uninspired name if you ask me, but it is what it is. Again, he's mostly black. Pretty much just has the orange painted for the eyes. Otherwise, not a lot of color in this mode. Transformation, you're going to kind of unpeg the back hump from the head section and then rotate this back like that. You're going to unpeg the head down the middle, as you can see. It splits open. Might have to get a nail in there or something. And then it'll flip on that hinge right there. And then you can kind of rotate this around and it will become the feet. But you kind of have to rotate this section out. This is the torso. So I apologize. This was around there. You can see it was down around here. And then you kind of rotate it back. So it sits on what was the tail. And then you take the hump and you rotate that back to become a backpack. And then you can come down here to the face pieces that you rotated, and then just kind of fold up the hands in the back to make feet. And then bring these, what were the feet in the beast mode, down. And you can see the head doesn't really, it just kind of hides in the tail. It doesn't really go anywhere. So, yeah. You just kind of have to position them in a pose that you like. But a pretty simplistic little robot mode. Again, I like the head sculpt. Pretty much sticking with the only paint is in the eyes theme. But there's a lot of nice molding. And you have the ball joint here in the shoulder, and you have a ball joint in the hip. That's pretty much what most of these have. Shoulder and hip ball joints. In a mostly black color scheme. But I feel like they did a good job of putting this all in the back. Like, he has a backpack, but it doesn't really get in the way. So I think it's a fun little robot mode. And then last up for the old molds, we have Rupture, who's kind of a buzzard or almost a pterodactyl looking creature. Now obviously he's got the most color with the orange wings. Otherwise he's got a little bit of orange here on the face for the eyes. Let me tilt this up a smidge here. And I think it looks good. I really like the look of this like buzzard or pterodactyl. I guess it's a pterodactyl, I'm not really sure. But I like the design of the head there. I think that looks pretty cool. Nice wingspan, pretty wide. You can fold it in a little bit if you like, or spread it all the way out. You'll fold it in for robot mode. Speaking of which, very simple transformation. You're going to bring the head down, and as you do that, you'll kind of kick forward the robot head, and then that will sink into the chest, and then the robot head will just come down and fit right on top. There we go, snaps in. Then you're going to rotate the shoulder joints in, like that. And then, like I said, fold in those wings, and they'll just stay on the forearms. And then when you come down to the feet, you just kind of push those feet in to become the shins, and then fold the tail up into the back. And then here is the robot mode for Rupture. I think it looks pretty good. I really like what the job they did. I like the fact that the pterodactyl head kind of folds completely into the chest and folds away nicely. You don't even see the eyes. And he's a pretty cool little head sculpt there. Nice eyes. And then he's got these just big wings on his forearms. But that doesn't even really bother me. I think it looks pretty good. Again, ball joint in the shoulder, ball joint in the hip. Pretty much standard for these. But he looks good. I like it. I like this a lot. So here is the man of the hour. The mold that everyone wants to check out. This is the only new mold in this whole set. But it's a pretty good one. I think it's really neat. It is interesting to note that, well, first of all, this is Skulk. He does not have a beast mode. I think that's interesting to note. He has the torso mode, and he has the robot mode. And that's it. I was looking through the directions because I thought I missed it at first, but he does not have a beast mode. He's got pretty decent articulation, though. He's got this shoulder joint here. He's got this big joint here, which you can swivel up and down. He's got a kind of bicep swivel, I guess. And then he's got a elbow joint. He's got these two big swords, which he holds in his hands. I'm just going to take them out temporarily. For the larger robot, you peg them together, and it makes one big, large sword. And then he's got a ball joint here in the hip, and then he's got a thigh swivel. But from the knee down is all one solid piece. But it's pretty fun little robot mode. I like it a lot. Let's get in and take a look at the face sculpt. Very creepy. He's got the crazy devil horns. He's got crazy teeth, kind of. The mouth and the teeth and everything are really creepy. The eyes are kind of sunken back. Just the tiniest little bit of paint there in the pupils. And you can see he's got the face with the giant robot mode in his chest. I think they cover that up pretty well. Very simply, but very well done. I like that a lot. So I like this robot mode. Now, he's got this giant torso butt, which is kind of a bummer. Not really much you can do about that, but I think they did a pretty good job with the robot mode. He's got a lot of articulation, way more than I expected. And he wields the two swords well. So I'll go ahead and I'll show his transformation into the torso mode since he doesn't really have a beast mode. You're going to start by putting these straight up and clipping them together like that, and then come down here, and this is going to pretty much become the hips and crotch, I should say, of the larger robot. Now you can see this is going to have a swivel here like this. It's going to have an out to the side swivel, and then it's going to have what will now be his thigh swivel as well as a knee. So pretty good articulation shaping up there. You're going to come down here, and you can see that there is a peg right there, and there is a slot right there. So you're going to turn these around and peg them in. Actually, I guess before you do that, you have to open up the piece that was covering the face, and this whole section is going to rotate up and around like this, so that now that face is there in the torso where it's supposed to go. And then this, the littler face, rotates back, and you can see there's a joint right there and there, and then it's going to hide in the head of the larger face. And I think I'm not getting it in all the way. What's happening? There we go. So let's take a nice look at that new robot face. That's pretty cool. Really sunken in eyes. They're really deep in there. But I like the fangs and everything. And then you can kind of just, you know, get that in place. And if you want to twist the horns around. Actually, I guess... no, the horns are solid in there. Now you're going to come back to this and just kind of put these back here. You're going to rotate these around so that they peg into those slots I showed earlier. And then you're going to rotate these 180 degrees. And then here is your torso mode. So you have the nice head, which is pretty stationary. It doesn't really have any posability. But this is where the arms are gonna clip into, these two holes on both sides, and then you will have this whole swivel here. If you want to unpeg these, it'll give you a little bit more articulation, but you're meant to peg them in so that they, you know, shore up the shoulder joint. Now they are incorrectly transformed in the box. That is spun around 180 at this joint, so they're not pegged in, but you can spin them around and peg them in, so it shores it up pretty well, I have to say. So here is your torso mode. So let's go ahead and bring in the others, and we'll transform them into their limb forms so we can get this guy all transformed up. Alright, so first up the two arms, because they're kind of the easier of the two. You're going to go ahead, pull this guy's chest down, rotate the head inside, close that back up, and then you're going to just kind of push these up like this, and then rotate this around and move these in such a way that it kind of makes a claw with the head. So you have these two, and then this making like a pincer claw, as you can kind of see there. And then otherwise you're just going to leave these up like this. So that's kind of your one hand. This guy, you're going to bend the arms back like this. And then you're going to rotate the robot head back so that it pops out the pterodactyl head. Let me move. You have to move the tail to rotate the head and then put the tail back. And then you just kind of, you can kind of do whatever you want with the wings. There's not really, I'm trying to see the directions show. Yeah, they just kind of show it back like this. So, I don't know. To me, that's not that great. If you want to put them like this, maybe so they're like a little bit closer to the body, that's probably what I'll do. Something like that. So, now you have your two arms. These guys are going to form your two legs. Start with this guy. pull the chest piece down, rotate the head back in, and then close it back up. You're really just going to take this piece that was on his back and rotate it down. And you can see how there's a bar. So there's a little like peg there and a peg there. And they're going to peg into the sides, if you can see it right there, of the legs. So bring this down and then peg it into the sides of the legs. And that'll give you a little bit of stability there. And then you just kind of rotate the legs, or the arms, what were the legs in the beast mode, but they're the... Why won't this go? There we go. So you just kind of put this back as best you can. And you can see this clip right here is going to be where the torso of Skulk connects into. And these have already come unpegged. They don't stay pegged together that well, but there you go. This guy, you're going to kind of do the same thing. The head doesn't really fold it back, so you just kind of, I guess, put it like that. Yeah, you're going to want to fold it down like that. Then the same deal, you're just going to put the arms back, rotate them to the back as best you can. You're going to peg the two legs together, and then just fold these down as kind of toes, I guess, for lack of a better term. This guy doesn't do a whole lot as far as getting ready to be a foot. I'm trying to think, do you push the hump piece down? No, it doesn't show you do, so it's just like that. Alright, we're ready for our merge sequence. Now, as I showed earlier, you see these giant clips here on the front. They're going to peg through these holes. So you kind of have to like move this stuff out of the way a little bit and then pull the chest piece down. Now, which leg does this guy become? He goes on this leg. Not that it really matters, I don't think, but... So you want to bring this down and put this through... I'm always afraid I'm going to break this when I do this. It's even more difficult to get them out once you have them pegged in. There we go. And then you can kind of close this back up and get these out of here. And basically the whole thing will have come apart by the time you get this connected. So let's get that back. And there you go. You have your first leg. This one's a little bit easier, but not incredibly easier. Yeesh. There you go. Once it's connected, you can definitely tell. But I feel like this does not peg together well. This piece down here. Come along. There we go. So... unfortunately, the legs are not the best. You can get them to stand. Something like that. We'll come back to it in a minute. The arms are much easier to connect. You can see they have the two pegs there. They peg in here. So you peg this on there, and then this on here. Come on. There we go. Did I do that incorrectly? I feel like I probably did. No, I didn't. I'm just trying to check the package here, because I'm sure I probably did something. Oh, you know what? I think it's supposed to go on the other arm. Or that could happen. Alright, stand by here. I apologize. Yeah, these legs are not cooperating. I promise once you get it all together, it is fun. It's just difficult to get it there. So anyway, these pegs are going to peg over here, and then these pegs in the legs are going to peg over here. I'm going to put this all together, and I'll be back in a second to show it to you. Okay, so I figured out the problem with the arm while I was looking at the directions. I had his feet still in robot mode, and you need to put them more in like the pterodactyl mode. So when you move that joint 90 degrees, they peg in very easily here to the arms. So I think the two arms look great. You have that articulation right here, as well as a little bit up and down because of what was his knee joint. So I think the arms look good, and of course the beak of the pterodactyl can hold the sword, and that looks really good too. The legs just don't hold together that great, and it's not really so much anything to do with Skulk. It's just, for whatever reason, maybe it's because it's the so many time using this mold, these just don't want to stay together that well. Now you can kind of, move it apart and use that as a stabilizer, so it can kind of work in your favor if you don't mind the legs just kind of looking kind of apart like that, but you can kind of use it almost like a third leg, for lack of a better term. And that can give him a little bit more stability there. So overall, I think he looks good. I do like the dark, like gunmetal gray color. I really like the orange highlights. And if you can take a look here at the torso, there is, like, at first I thought there was a paint imperfection, but this is just, it's meant to look like he's tarnished. And then there are these weird glyphs here that apparently the box says you can translate using the website. Most of the time, from what I understand, they just say the name of the transformer, so this probably says Infernicus right here. But I like the silver because it kind of makes him look like battle damage, like he's been in a couple fights. It's a little worn in spots, so I like that. And I really like the face sculpt of the giant robot. So overall, I think this guy is pretty great. I wasn't initially excited to rebuy these toys again, at least the 4 limbs, but they look good in this unified color scheme. The gunmetal gray with the orange highlights and a little bit of silver, I think looks really cool, and he looks menacing. Oh, I almost forgot to show off the little Quintessa. It's just kind of like a super clear, I guess like a lightish blue, but mostly just kind of like a clear color. As far as detail and everything goes, it's kind of hard to see. I guess she has some detail molded into her face, but it's kind of hard to see because of the nature of what it's made out of. But you can see she's got kind of tentacles here in the back. You can kind of see the face molded there. Kind of. But she's pretty cool. I think it's a neat little inclusion. She has a peg hole in the bottle. Yeah, peg hole on the bottom. So you could put her somewhere like floating around. You could put her, let's see, can we stick her on here? There you go. Oh, she fits, but she's not. She doesn't stay. Doesn't really work, but it's kind of funny. But it's a neat little inclusion. Like I said, I didn't need it. I would have bought this guy without it, but I don't think they're going to make any other representation of Quintessa from the movie, and she was a fairly big part of the movie and may possibly show up in other movies. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a cool little figure inclusion. I like this guy. The molds definitely still have a few problems. There are things that were problems originally with the molds that they didn't really go back and fix. Put the box here in the background. But I like it. Overall, I think it's worth picking up. I think Skulk is a lot of fun. It's kind of a bummer he doesn't have his own beast mode. He just has the torso mode and the robot mode, but they're both great modes, in my opinion. I think the torso looks good and connects very solidly. That is one thing I will say. I feel like with Hunger from the Prime trilogy, the legs didn't click in as well. And I mean, these suckers are clicked in. Like, it's a pain to unclick them, actually. Because it's kind of like a prong that when it goes through and then it expands, so you have to kind of push them in to pull it back out, and that can be a bit of a pain. But it's nice that they're solidly connected, and the arm connections are nice and solid as well. So I really don't feel like this guy's going to fall apart on you anytime soon. You just have to position the legs in a way that'll stand. But as you can see, it's not impossible to do. And, you know, they don't stay together as well as they're supposed to, but like I said, you can kind of use it as extra balancing. Instead of having them connected, just spread it apart a little bit. It's like a little bit extra, you know, balance to the leg. So it's kind of a shame that the legs don't stay together as well as they should, but I think they do a good enough job that this guy is still fun. He's an excellent combiner, and he's definitely worth, you know, picking up to at least display. Like I said, I love this sword. I really do like that sword too. Yeah, I mean, a couple minor complaints, but overall, I think it looks good, and I love the unified color scheme for this. I really do. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like and share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys have enjoyed this look at Infernicus from Transformers The Last Knight. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching.